Corruption in Nigeria undermines democratic institutions, retards economic development, and contributes to government instability. To rid Nigeria of corruption through lawful enforcement and preventive measures, the federal government has set up anti-corruption agencies to tackle this endemic challenge. But how far has agencies like the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission succeeded in reducing corruption in the country? That is the focus of this week's edition of the program. Hello there, welcome to the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuki. Now, corruption is pervasive in Nigeria and manifests in various forms. It is rampant both in the public and private, formal and informal sectors of the economy. Well, in this week, we will look at the ICPC and its anti-corruption crusade.
Once again, the world stands to mark the International Anti-Corruption Day. For Nigeria, this day is more than a ritual. Corruption is said to be one factor that has slowed the country's development, a challenge the country has always appeared unable to confront.
This government has not shown anybody, if there is anything at all, they have shown that, look, that's your problem. We live in corruption here.
The latest ranking on the Transparency International Corruption Survey puts Nigeria at the 136th position, down from 144 in 2013. An improvement rating which has drawn different reactions.
If we have improved, then we should celebrate it. But is that where we want to be? No. Is there much to do? Yes. And I think we should do it. And that's why in my speech, I laid down my own suggestions about certain areas that I think we should improve upon and build on.
The question for the average Nigerian is, are we doing better? And I'll struggle to find a Nigerian who would say we're doing better in fighting corruption. I'm sorry. That is the honest truth. How many successful prosecutions have we done for corruption? Where are they, particularly at the high levels? How many systemic flaws have we closed? How many public servants or people who have diverted resources have we fired?
The president's aide says the government has taken a different approach to fighting corruption.
The employment of technology is assisting in the battle against corruption. Battle against corruption is not noise-making, it is not propaganda, it is not strategies, it is not breaking the rules just to impress people. It is working steadily, using and applying technology and removing and delving into institutions, So this is what this government is doing. And I'm very glad that it is now bringing fruits and people can see it.
The theme for this year's International Anti-Corruption Day is breaking the corruption chain. Now, this is a call that goes out to leaders and citizens. It means if you know what corruption is, you have a role to play.
In our interview this week, I spoke to Mr. Ekpo Nta, the ICPC boss, who talks about corruption and the crusade gone so far. Mr. Ekpo Nta, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin this way. You mentioned earlier that you have adopted a preventive approach to tackling the issue of corruption in the system. What exactly were you talking about?
The mandate that set up ICPC is a threefold mandate: investigation and prosecution, system studies, and the aspect of public enlightenment and mobilization. Now, the last two, looking at systems and public enlightenment, would fall under preventive mode. Like the common saying, prevention is better than cure. And that's the world trend now, because we attend international meetings on anti-corruption in accordance with the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. And the countries that have been most successful in the anti-corruption fight have been those that have placed a lot of premium on the corruption prevention mode. But that is not to say that we would not bring into play the enforcement node, which means prosecution and charging persons to court where there is an absolute necessity to do that.
So when you speak of prevention, how successful have you been at it?
I think we have been very successful there. Unfortunately, these are aspects which do not get the kind of attraction and prominence you expect. It is not as exciting as seeing persons in handcuffs, which elicits more attention, and that's why I'm very surprised and easily impressed that you are determining the interview by starting this way on the preventive node. I must say, with what we've done so far, I think it's virtually the best way to go. Even as a person, would you rather have mosquitoes bite you all the time because you know you can go buy the drugs? Or would you rather prefer to prevent mosquitoes biting you?
Okay, this is easy to talk about because, I mean, we don't really see, as again, seeing people in handcuffs, we understand how you're going about it the other way around. Well, now, you did a system review of the MDA's ministries, departments, and agencies. What did you notice?
When we came in here in 2011, we decided to do a system study of ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs for short, in order to look at the spending pattern, and we established what we would call a spending culture, and that culture pointed to the fact that towards the close of the financial year, we saw a rise in cash expenditure, for example. We saw a rise in procurement activities, and some of the procurement activities did not make sense to us. I mean, if you're doing a contract that is supposed to last 1 year, and you are awarding that contract December 5, knowing fully well that all funds that are not utilized must be returned to government coffers, and you need to reappropriate that. What, in essence, are you trying to portray? One, you know the contractor is going to be a bit careful after receiving his mobilization because he's not too sure he will be able to pay if it is not reinserted in the budget the following year. So he's not going to put his money down. And he started the project, and if for one reason that project is not funded the next year, it's now classified as an abandoned project. So from start, it was programmed to fail. We also saw at that point movement of monies meant for one project to some other projects.
Which is a taboo according to the Act.
That's under our Act is known as environment. That's unauthorized movement of funds from one vote head to the other vote head. But under UNCAC regulations, the convention, the United Nations Convention, it's classified as misappropriation. That is, money was appropriated for function A or project A, but it has now been misapplied to project B or function B.
So what happens when you see such situations?
Of course, we immediately invoke sections of Act, which makes it an offense to have environment without parliamentary approval, no matter your good intention.
What have you done realizing this? What did you do?
We've prosecuted, and I can tell you that in one instance, I think it involved the rector of a polytechnic. He was sentenced to jail by the court. And it's a very, very strict liability offense.
So how many of such cases do you really have? Because I want to assume you have thousands of them.
No. The point is that the moment you have successfully made a conviction, my next level is to try to get people to avoid making the same mistake. I don't like ambushing people or chief executives. I make public announcements, I go on air and send it through our newsletters that this particular thing you've done will be interpreted as violent, can lead you to jail. So it will be the best to see a reduction of such activities happening. And don't forget, we have anti-corruption and transparency units in almost all the MDAs. And we have sensitized them to this. We hold regular meetings with these agencies that if you need absolutely to do this, ask for a parliamentary waiver. And that saves you all the problems in future.
You know, this issue of corruption has become a very serious issue that has eaten deep into the fabric of the nation's economy, really. And I want to just remind you of what the former president said, Olusegun Obasanjo. He said a few weeks ago that, particularly to lawmakers, that they sort of, they're corrupt. They actually, do this through their oversight functions. They award contracts fraudulently. He talked about their salaries, talked about a lot about what they do, which is not right. In other words, he calls them corrupt. Are you aware of those things?
Well, let me look at the constituency contracts. I do know that most, if not all, the ones that I'm aware of, are actually executed through regular agencies that have the supervising authority to ensure that the right things are done. Where the right things are not done, such petitions have been brought in and we have investigated.
You have investigated lawmakers?
Each constituency project must have a contractor. It's not executed by a lawmaker himself directly. You don't give a lawmaker money to go and execute a project. It's a contractor that has to do the job. And I'm interested in what the contractor is doing. Whoever is behind the contractor is not the issue for me. I have traced public funds to this contractor. Are you keeping the terms of agreement in relation to that contract? That's where my business comes in. Okay? So the issues that arise, we must make it very measurable.
So have you traced any of these fraudulent contracts to any of the lawmakers?
Like I have said before, I don't tie it to any lawmaker. I don't tie it to anybody in government or out of government. What I deal with is that a contract has been issued to Company A, and Company A
that
is not dealing with A, B, C, D. That's the person I'm dealing with on the basis of a contract. I don't believe or know who is behind, because the person who is behind you, who tells you go and put your hand in fire, may not be doing you good.
All right, just hold on to that thought. We're still with the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. When we come back, we'll talk more about the system and the intrigues involved in it. Please join us again.